there's been a lot of controversy with this particular subject and topic with a woman who seems to have basically got offed by one of the ICE members, you know what I mean? There's already been a lot of controversy within ICE itself. You know, people have what it seems to be like a 50-50 split when it comes to ICE and the deportations and deporting people and all of that, you know what I'm saying? Some people say, hey, F ICE, blah, blah, blah. Some people say, hey, ICE doing their job, they doing their thing, whatever you want to say. There's been a bunch of like meme music videos of like ICE using different people's songs, and then some of the celebrities who make the songs or whatever have an issue with it. It's just a whole bunch going on. But with this right here, people have been 50-50 with this. It seems, you know, there's been people who seems like, oh, she deserved it, whatever. ICE, they just taking control of their power and they're taking advantage of their power. They're doing too much. They're doing too much. She should have never died. They should have never shot her. Blah, 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 right? So if you look at a few videos of people talking about it or just like what really happened, let's get straight to it. So like I said, we're going to look at certain creators, their POVs of it real quick. You know, just how people think about certain things like this. You know, we've already, if not, you've already at least seen the clips or the videos of what happened. You probably already have your POV and your own take on it. Let's take a look real quick. This is a creator called Amala Ekpunubi. You know, I hope I said her name right. I'm subscribed to her on YouTube. You know, I don't agree with everything she says and has a take on certain whatever, but for the most part, you know, I do respect her opinion, and she has very good takes, very great takes. She makes good content. Let's go.
I'm going to go over it again just so you know what's happening here. In the car over here is Renee, the 37-year-old who ends up losing her life. As you can see, these ICE agents approach. They do tell her multiple times, get out of the car, get out of the car. One of them even says, I believe, get the F out of the car. Does she get out of the car? No, she does not get out of the car. Does she then move the car forward towards an ICE agent? She absolutely does. And many people are arguing about the intention, whether or not she was intending to run over the ICE agent or whether or not she was intending to flee the scene. I'm going to argue today, it doesn't matter what your intentions were when you drive a vehicle forward into an ICE agent. Okay, the question really becomes, is he in a reasonable position to believe that his life is in danger? And if so, and he fires his gun, what does that mean? Okay, so we can argue back and forth.
Like she said, you can argue back and forth about that. I'm not saying I agree with what she's saying right now because of just other clips and angles that I've seen of her trying to flee or whatever you want to say. But we keep this in mind, this clip right here, what she just said, keep that in mind real quick.
Whether or not she was fleeing, whether or not she was trying to hit him. Kristi Noem is calling this an act of domestic terrorism, which when I first heard it, I thought was a little bit dramatic, regardless of her intent and what she was trying to do to this ICE agent. But nonetheless, she drove forward into the ICE agent. So what I see here, it almost looks as though she clips his side, or at least hits his leg. Let's watch it again.
Let's see.
Orders to get out of the car.
No! She's doing a little too much.
No! Shit! Now you're going to see this woman here.
Now, before we continue, I will say something. It looked like she was trying to avoid him. No matter what, hey, you can argue with me, you can agree, disagree, whatever you want to say. She tried to run him over. She tried to run her over. Yeah, she did. Hey, listen, whatever you want to say, cool. I'm not here to debate you with it. It looked like she was trying to avoid him, and it looked like he was on the side a little bit, getting out the way. But I feel like for some people, if they really wanted to try to hit you, she would have kept forward and moved where he was moving. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not that hard. A car is quicker than a human being. You're not going to be quick enough to move out of a vehicle's way. You know what I mean? You know, it depends on how far you are. You know what I'm saying? So I really feel like if she truly wanted to hit him, possibly, she would have whatever. And then she either way, she got shot. Either way.
Renee's wife, or at least that's what she states. In a later video, she says, that's my wife. She was presumably filming this entire encounter and the back and forth and everything that was happening on the street that day, and then witnesses her wife get shot by an ICE agent.
Man.
God! What the fuck? What the fuck? You just fucking, what the fuck did you do?
And we all know what the conclusion ends up being. She was fatally shot. She lost her life. Now, because everybody's getting into the angles on this and what her intent was, and did she hit the ICE agent, there are people who are posting a slow motion footage. And for the sake of putting this to bed, or at least giving people a little bit of clarity as to what actually took place, we're going to play that as well.
On the side, he on the side. It's showing he's on the side.
And I have to say what I say every time we videos like this, and this unfortunately happens a lot, where you hear about a death, it is being sensationalized, there's a political message tied to it, and then you get body cam footage or footage from the scene, and you see somebody who, if they had followed orders, would still be alive. These ICE agents, who are real law enforcement agents, mind you, and we'll get into that in just a moment, approached her and told her to get out of the car, get out of the car, get out of the car. And we've seen this happen on so many occasions with law enforcement, where somebody is given a directive. Bring down your window. Okay, get out of the car, exit the vehicle, drop your weapon. And these individuals don't listen, and I don't know what they're expecting to happen. Unfortunately, you are going to lose your life in a situation like this when you are in a vehicle. I know a lot of people are referring to her as unarmed. It is a weapon, especially if utilized against an ICE agent in this way. Regardless of whether or not she was trying to plow over ICE agents, she moved the vehicle forward into the man and then subsequently was shot. And of course, it seemingly was her intent to be a protester that day and to block traffic, which is another crime which she could have been arrested for. We'll watch some witness testimony here.
I woke up to some commotion. I heard some whistles going on out front, so I came downstairs to see what was going on. Wasn't even dressed. And there was a car, the Honda Pilot that's crashed over there now. There's a car blocking the 2 lanes of Portland traffic. And the ICE agents got out and they were saying, get out of here, get out of here. And she was what looked like trying to turn around. And the ICE agent was in front of her car, and he pulled out a gun and put it right in, his midriff was on her bumper, and he reached across the hood of the car and shot her in the face like 3-4 times. And then she must have just stepped on the gas. She stepped on
the gas, right? Stepped on the gas. Now, I've seen other creators talk about this where it was like, she deserved to get shot. She deserved to get shot.
They tell you, stop moving your car, get out of the fucking car, and you start driving around, and you gonna end up shot. Shouldn't be. That's the way it is. Yeah, rip bozo.
Whatever they lean towards, like political beliefs or whatever you want to say, their own personal beliefs of how they feel the situation went down. She deserved to get shot, blah, 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 blah. They had to, because what if she would have went crazy and rampant and run people over like she tried to do the ICE agent? But you're not looking at it like this from this POV as well. Again, I'm not picking a side, but I'm seeing different POVs when it comes to this as well. Just like she just said, foot rammed on the gas, right? And we know if some people get shot in the cars or something happens, they foot just go heavy on the gas and they're in that position. What if it was a bunch of people or kids around, he shot like he did, and her foot stayed on that gas like it did, and she ran over multiple people? Now, who would have been in fault? At the end of the day, you're going to be like, well, she should have stopped in general, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe so, for sure. Possibly she should have just stopped. You know what I mean? But she didn't. Does that make it right for him to shoot as well? Some people are debating that too. Some people saying he really didn't have the right to shoot. We're going to get into that too.
These are real law enforcement officers. I know people are calling them masked men and saying they're just strangers who are like grabbing people out of cars. Some of them are saying they have no authority. Other politicians are urging actual citizens to fight against ICE and get them out of the city. And this is the natural progression of this sort of rhetoric. These are real law enforcement officers with real weapons who are giving real directives that you should follow when spoken to. And she chose not to do.
She chose not to, like she just said. But at the end of the day, let's not act like it ain't certain agents. Just like there are certain, not every, certain cops who are bad apples. There are certain ICE agents who have looked like they have been bad apples on certain video or film. You know what I mean? Like just Some people are just grabbing certain people when they not even like on the, what do you, if you want to say, we want to go with a list or whatever to grab or whoever, you know what I'm saying? But they're here to do a job as well. ICE agents are here to do a job. They're here to search for people who should be getting deported, whatever you want to say. I know people hate them, whatever, but you have to look at it rationally. You know what I'm saying? Just like cops. All cops are not bad, no matter what people think, no matter what race you are, all cops are not bad. All ICE agents are not bad, all right? But I just gotta add that balance, because I'm not saying she's doing it on purpose or she's just making it seem like all agents, ICE agents are good. That's not what she's saying. She's just saying they're here to do a job, which they are, and people need to respect that, which they should, but you know how certain people are. But at the end of the day, there are going to be a few bad apples. That's just how it is.
Maybe because she felt emboldened by everything that she was hearing, that there were going to be no consequences for it. And maybe even worse than that, she thought she was going to strike the ICE agent in front of her and kill him. And now on the other end of this, you have the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry,
I don't know about that.
saying this.
And I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you.
Listen, I understand if this is really truly how he feels, for real. Remove politics out of the way, whatever you want to say, bars. Listen, if this is truly how he feels, I understand this POV. But at the same time, if they are ordered to do something, no matter what people say, it's a law. I understand it. We don't have to go all the way back and like, well, white people stole this land. True. You white, I'm sorry, true. I'm not talking about you, because you didn't do it. You know, your ancestors or whoever, they did. It's true. They stole this land from people. That's how it go. Can't argue that. Well, you can't argue that. But in the time that we are in, what's going to happen? Every native around the world going to come to America and just try to protest and get the land back? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. So where we're at now, life isn't fair. We know this. For any person, for real. Unless you privileged. But with that being said, where we are at now in America, you gotta follow certain rules. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's illegal, they're illegal. No matter if me, you, anybody else disagrees or doesn't like it, there's a lot of hardworking people who are not born here. But with that being said, unfortunately, there are rules. You know what I mean? And this could have been prevented if she would have just not been in the street protesting. You know what I mean? That's so real. That's just real.
All right, Minneapolis, everyone is losing it. Actually, all across the nation, people are protesting en masse because of the shooting involving an ICE officer and a woman who's a U.S. citizen in her car.
Yeah, we didn't have access to this footage before we hit the record button, but we felt it important to add. So here's footage from the actual officer's perspective.
And like Alba just said, this is the officer's perspective right here.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former.
It's too cold to be out here like that.
You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Whoa!
Now let's look back, because you heard that impact.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Whoa!
But you heard that impact. It sounded like he got hit a little bit. It sounded like he got hit. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. I have certain things that I was already thinking about this, but when you watching certain POVs and stuff, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay, people. It's okay to be like, you know what, maybe, or nah, I don't still, you know what I'm saying? It's okay. People have certain egos when it comes to stuff like this. They want to think they're right, or they don't want to admit they're wrong when it comes to something. Look at every POV you can. Get all the evidence you can before y'all just get emotional and be like, she deserved it, or she didn't deserve this. You know what I'm saying? Like, just look at every single thing.
The Department of Homeland Security claimed the woman had tried to run over officers with her car and called it an act of terrorism.
My only question is...
And the model said the same thing too. I wouldn't go that far and say an act of terrorism, but you know how different governments and different continents and countries are. You know, if you do something in that country, they have no problem throwing that out there, throwing that phrase out there. You're a terrorist to the country now. This is with an act of terrorism. We know how certain things like this go. It happens in movies too. You know what I'm saying? So let's keep going.
I thought that she was this dangerous domestic terrorist. If she was a domestic terrorist and some dangerous perp, why would you circle the car like this and be in front of it, putting your...
Now that's a great take from Abba right there. If you thought this was this and all that, why are you circling the car like that so much? You thought she was just this great threat. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, but at the end of the day, she should have never drove off like that. She should have never drove off. She would never drove off. She would have still been alive.
Self in danger.
How do you understand what happened?
What I saw from the video is that I don't know why she was positioned that way in the street, but from what I saw, she was waving cars by.
Yeah.
And
see, this is one of the videos that I've seen. She was waving cars to go by, even though she was in the street. Like I said at the beginning, I don't know what her POV was, what she was thinking. I don't know why she shouldn't even been out here. Whatever she was trying to prove and do, you know what I mean? Some people want to be heroes. You're not going to be no hero. You're not going to be no hero to nobody, okay?
again, and the car stopped, and then the ICE agents got out.
So the government's account is that one of the ICE officers was stuck in a snowbank. And as a result of that, they were trying to get him out. During that time, a lot of people were kind of chasing them out because people have been going against ICE everywhere they've been. And during this time, they're claiming that this lady was part of the people blocking them in. And as they were trying to leave, that's where some of them approached her.
Sure. What the government is saying doesn't match what I saw. The cop that allegedly shoots her gets out of the car, circle around the car with his phone out. The second thing that is weird is whenever you do a stop, there's a way to position yourself. And in front of the vehicle is not where the position is.
True.
You're driving, they're not positioning themselves there. They're behind. It's the same thing that happens there. This dude.
And Amala, I rock with you, girl. You know what I'm saying? I rock with you. I agree with a lot of things you said in your video, and that's just the first part of your video. But you gotta, you know what I'm saying? This is why I like to get different POVs when it comes to stuff for extra details of certain things. You know what I'm saying? Because any traffic stop or any time a cop pulls you over, they're not in front of your car. They're not circling around like that for real. Unless there's multiple cops, unless there's cop cars in front of the car that you're trying to look at and search at. You know what I'm saying? But by that time, when they're doing all the circling around, they're asking you to get out the car, step out the vehicle, all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? That's if you are corroborating with the cops, you know what I'm saying? And not being a nuisance or whatever you want to say. But you know what I mean? You're always on the side. We see a lot of cops or whoever touch the back of the tags or the back of the car, whatever. But it's you're circling. What was the point of that?
In front of. And then the other thing that struck me and that was kind of weird was the way the whole thing happened. Phone, let me shoot. And then the way he holstered and just casually walked to the car that was later on after that crashed because the lady was probably stepping on the gas while she expired. It's just the way that he was let me holster this and let me just... There was no procedures. Nobody was trained. All right, get out of the car and start to yank on the door. The agent, he was acting. It felt like he wanted to shoot someone.
I think...
Yeah, let's not act like sometimes people, when it comes to certain things like this, people let's not act like people might not want to. Let's not act like people don't want to shoot when it comes to certain things. They just want to shoot people. You know what I'm saying? Now, with this being said, I sound like somebody from the left, the straight left. No. I'm not saying this happens all the time, whatever. We don't know what goes through people's brains. You know what I mean? Let's not act like there's never been a case where when a person finally gets in the field, or they've been in the field for a moment, they're itching to get their first expiration date from somebody. You know what I'm saying? That first Black Ops kill. You know what I mean? In the game, Black Ops. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it happens.
As far as the legal case goes for this, everyone's going to have their take. A lot of people feel like it's clear-cut murder. In my experience, whenever it involves law enforcement, whatever the public thinks is clear-cut murder doesn't really matter in legal standards, because you see it all the time with killings that happen on camera, with motherfuckers pull out guns just blasting everywhere. They get off almost all the time. So cops have pretty strong immunity, and I understand that DHS agents aren't necessarily cops, but they do operate as federal agents. So, they're going to have quite a lot of leeway in regards to how they fear for their lives. And the woman, when she's pulling out, nearly does or kind of starts to hit the guy, but he's already on the side before he starts shooting. So that's something they're going to figure out in a court of law. And I'm not going to sit here, they're going to jail. I don't know. If I had to put my money on it, they're not going to jail.
No, they're not going to jail. And
even if they did, Orange Man's going to pardon him because he don't give a fuck about the law. Because the law means nothing to him. It's a really bad practice for the safety of yourself and for the situation, because you're going to make it escalate if you get hit.
100%.
And then you put yourself in jeopardy. So it's just bad police practice. But then also shooting the person in the car is also bad. But even if you get them, if their foot is still on the pedal and they just press, which is very natural for a lot of people to do, they're running right into a house in a residential area.
This is literally what I said earlier. They could literally have their foot on the gas because they're either unconscious or they have died in Black Ops, the game. You know what I'm saying? And they could run over people. You never know what could happen. You know what I'm saying?
Man was not behind the thing, but in front. He might have got hit by the car. So it's really stupid in so many different ways, him shooting at the car. People are saying, well, this woman's, first off, she wasn't going that fast, but shooting her ensures that she has no control over her vehicle. So it's not a good thing. And at the same time, fleeing isn't a crime worthy of you having to shoot. Now, they're going to make the argument, if I'm being fair, where they're saying she's using this vehicle as a deadly weapon or whatever it could be.
If you look at the position,
what Amala said.
The tires, she was not going towards the officer. She was going away from him.
And if I'm,
but then again, that's going to be me.
That's something they're going to argue in court.
Yeah, because the cop is not.
You can see he is quite close by the time it happens. Yeah, I'm telling you what the legal defense is going to be.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Because you got to go beyond a reasonable doubt.
100%.
And you guys might not like this, but oftentimes cops get that doubt. More often than not.
100%.
It's not even part of DHS policy to go after somebody in terms of a chase like this.
In my 25 years, I've done hundreds of vehicle stops. If someone is fleeing, that is not a justification for the use of deadly force.
Under the Department of Homeland Security's use,
Amala, you know what I mean? It's different from cops versus DHS. You know what I'm saying? From what I seen in Amala's video, the clips we just saw, she was justified. It's her right to do so. It's her opinion. And I agree with a lot of things that she was saying about the situation. But just certain things that she didn't discuss or just left out, it was just stuff like this. You heard, this is a retired DHS agent. You know what I'm saying?
force policy, firearms may not be discharged solely to disable a moving vehicle, and shooting at a moving vehicle is tightly restricted.
So my training was that you cannot use deadly or lethal force solely to stop a fleeing vehicle.
In 1994, 95, we changed it in LAPD when I was there in 2004. But it's basically simple, which is if you're confronted by a moving vehicle that could be a threat to you, get out of the way of the vehicle and don't shoot at a car. Now this is...
So all the people who claim to care about law and order or rules, they don't. Like I said, they're not even following their own rules and their own policy. But it goes even further than that. Let's just listen a little bit more.
DHS law enforcement officers are prohibited from discharging firearms at the operator of a moving vehicle or other conveyance unless the use of deadly force of the... Basically, it says, unless it's...
This appears to be black and white.
Well, it does. And it also says a law enforcement officer must take into consideration the hazards that may be posed to law enforcement and innocent bystanders by an out-of-control vehicle.
They claim to want law and order, but they don't want it. What I predict is that this is going to escalate so much that eventually, I think within the year.
Man, this is crazy, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. To use an even smaller example, like just working a regular 9 to 5, right? The manager, they're supposed to do their job. They're supposed to tell you what to do. This is your duty. They got to fire you, do this, do this. But if they're doing it at a certain way, like they're just yelling, they always rude, you know what I mean? That you don't have to be rude to do your job. You can be strict. You can be a strict boss. You know what I mean? You can tell your employees, hey, you need to be doing this. You know what I'm saying? But if you're just cussing at your employees, if you're up there just saying anything and just, you know what I mean? Like, it's a certain way to do certain things. You know what I meing? You don't have to always go head first into something and put the law down. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things are just, it looks just done bad by these higher power people. You know, whether you're a police officer or whatever authority that you have, whatever type of position you have, some of y'all just like, I would say, look, it just looks sloppy. It just looks sloppy, you know what I'm saying? What do you think? Did she deserve to get shot? Did she deserve, you know, a little bit more leniency? Again, she did flee the scene. She should have never done that. You know what I'm saying? No matter what belief you have, she should have never fled the scene like that. What is that going to solve? You know? But that's it for the video, man. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. On to the next video.